Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 44. This is your host, Holly Worton, and I will also be today's guest. So today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about how to create a social media tribe that feels good. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to give a shout out to some of the very kind people who have reviewed this podcast online. Linda Urson from Norway says, great content for entrepreneurs. The Socially Holistic Podcast has really great and relevant content for us women entrepreneurs. I've loved everything I've heard so far. Thank you so much, Linda, for stopping by and leaving that review. Winky Wonder from Canada says, rich and warm, I love this show. As a small business owner, I'm always looking for great resources that teach me, and don't waste my time with the same old stuff. Holly's show is that. Lots of new, useful info exactly for a small business owning woman like me. So thank you very much, Winky Wonder in Canada. So let's get started. The reason I was inspired to create today's show is because I see so many women in heart-centered businesses online who are just really, really fearful of social media. A lot of them have just connected with the wrong people from the start, and now they're just stuck with this tribe and connections that just doesn't feel right. It's not aligned with them. It's got people who just aren't right for their business. Now that they're starting to share more business things, they're feeling really concerned and confused about how to do that because they know that they don't feel safe with the people that they've connected with. And I see this so many times, particularly in some of the private groups that I belong to on Facebook and other social media sites. And so what I wanted to do was just talk to you a little bit about how to create a social media tribe that feels good. And hopefully this will help some of the people that I see struggling with this. So let's get started. What we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to be selective online when you're actually making connections, how to detox your existing network of social media connections, how to make it private so that it feels safe, and how to get over fears of visibility, because this is another thing that comes up a lot in the women I work with and women that I see online that just really, their business is very personal and they just really have a lot of fears of putting themselves out there. So I think these are all really important topics to cover. First of all, I wanted to get into some of the top mistakes that I see people making online. First of all, I see people just not being selective enough. People feeling that they have to connect with people that they don't really need to connect with just because someone, asked to connect. I see people not detoxing their connections on a regular basis, and this is really, really important because people change, we change, they change, everything changes, our businesses change, and what's right for us today is not necessarily what's going to be right for us 6 months from now, a year from now, or maybe even a couple of months from now. And the same goes for the fact that a lot of us have built up connections over years, and those connections might not be right for us today. And so we need to just kind of go through and just clean things up and declutter and get rid of the people that aren't right for us. This is your community, your online tribe, your peeps, whatever you want to call them. You want to make sure that you build a community that feels right for you. So another top mistake I see people making is that they don't respect their intuition or their gut feeling. And, they think that they have to put up with people online that really just aren't right for them. And they sense it, they feel it in their gut, and they don't do anything about it. So these to me are some of the top mistakes that people make when building their tribe online. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about how to be selective when building your online tribe. First of all, not everyone is interested in you or your business, and that's something that's really, really important to keep in mind. You have an ideal client base, or niche or whatever it is that you want to call it. But you've got this particular group of people who are perfect for you and perfect for your business. And that does not include the entire world. So that's why you want to be sure to just connect with a very particular group of people. And there are two main groups of people that you want to connect with on social media. First of all, your ideal clients. And secondly, your ideal joint venture partners. Now, your ideal clients, if you haven't gotten clear yet on your ideal client, this is something you need to sit down and actually spend some time looking at. I've just gone through this in module 2 of my online social media course with all the people that I'm going through the group with. And a lot of them had not done this before, and they found it really, really useful to get clear on their ideal client avatar or persona or whatever you want to call it. So you want to get as specific as possible with this person and just be really, really clear on who is your ideal client. Now, I know that in the beginning of business, a lot of us are kind of desperate to bring the money in and not really clear on what we want to do, and so we'll just take on any client who's willing to give us money. But over time, we get a clear idea of who we actually want to work with. And those people are your ideal clients. So you need to get really, really clear on who these people are, what they're like, demographics, psychographics, and just get really, really into building your ideal client avatar so that you know who to connect with online. Now, the second group of people you want to connect with are your ideal joint venture partners. And your ideal joint venture partners are people who have similar businesses to yours, but who provide a different solution. So they've got the same ideal client base, but they help them in a different way. So their business is compatible with yours, it's complementary to yours, and most importantly, they've got a list of people who are your ideal client base, but who are probably very different from your existing ideal client base just because they're different people and they've built up a different list. So these people you want to connect with because you ideally want to work with them in some way in the future, whether it's some kind of collaboration or promoting each other's products and services or, collaborating on things together. So there's so many different ways that you can work with joint venture partners. But you need to build up the relationship over time, and social media is a really, really good way to do that. So again, you want to connect with ideal clients and ideal joint venture partners. Now, when you're selecting people to build your tribe, you want to be connecting with people who are on your wavelength, who are aligned to your business. Most importantly, someone who respects you and your business and your boundaries. I really can't stress enough how important it is to connect only with people who respect you. And you may not know that at the very beginning. You may get a feel for this over time. But in a few minutes, we're going to talk about how to detox the people that you've already connected with who just aren't being respectful. But from here on out, just keep in mind that you want to be connecting with people who feel right for you and feel right for your business and who are respectful of you and your business and your boundaries. Now, you also want to look into creating a personal connection policy. How are you going to connect with people online? Whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever social media sites you use. So you may look at the following things. You might look at whether you know them personally offline, and maybe you only want to connect with people you've actually met personally in the real world. Maybe you'll connect with people who you don't know personally offline, but you've had a meaningful exchange with them online. So maybe you met them within a private Facebook group or LinkedIn group, you've had some conversations, you've exchanged emails, and you think they're really interesting, you want to get to know them better, so you connect with them. Maybe you'll be open to connecting with friends of friends. Some of you will trust your friends enough and your friends' networks to connect with their friends. Again, ideal clients and joint venture partners are probably people that you want to connect with. And, some people just connect with anyone who asks to connect. I do not recommend that. I really feel the need to get to know someone in some way before connecting with them. But, again, I do know people who just connect with anyone. So maybe you're one of those people. You need to think about whether or not that's right for you. So these are all ideas and guidelines on how to connect with people from here on out. The question is, how are you going to deal with your existing network? Now, some of you have probably built up networks that you're not totally happy with. And so you'll need to do some work to detox or declutter your existing network, whether it's Facebook friends, Twitter fans, or Twitter followers, whatever social media sites you're already on. Now, Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you most spend time with. Now, this does not just apply to your offline life. This does not just have to do with your friends that you spend the most time with. It also has to do with the people that you connect with online. And this is very, very important because you want to be spending time with people who are supportive of you and your business, and people who have the same values, people that will help you grow. And again, this applies to both offline and online connections. So, how to detox your existing network. Now I'm going to go into some guidelines and ideas and suggestions. And if you've got a pen and paper, I want you to take that out now. You might need to pause this podcast to go find a notebook or a pad of paper, whatever. Make some notes, because as I go through this list, some names may come to your mind. Write these people down, or write down just the guidelines that I'm giving you. And know that it's okay to disconnect with people. You have permission, not from me, but from yourself. You are allowed to disconnect with people who aren't right for you. And trust your judgment, your intuition, your gut feeling, whatever you call it. Trust that you know who is right for your network and who is not right. And again, it's okay to disconnect with people who aren't right for you. Okay? So, who to disconnect with, who to detox from, who to declutter from your Facebook connections or other social media sites. You could maybe consider getting rid of people that you don't know, who you've never met. I went through my Facebook friends some years ago, and in the beginning I connected with a lot of people that I wanted to get to know, but I found that over time, I wasn't interested in them, or maybe didn't get to know them very well, or just didn't feel like I wanted to be connected with them. So I went through and I decluttered a lot of my Facebook friends. Didn't make a big fuss about it online like some people do. I just silently went in and little by little decluttered my Facebook friends. And I continue to do this on a regular basis. So whenever I see people showing up in my newsfeed and I think, who is that person? I'll check them out a little and I'll think, do I really want to be connected with them? And if not, I just declutter. Anyone who posts things that you don't enjoy. So if you're not enjoying someone's updates, again, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, declutter, detox, disconnect. And I know you know what I mean. Sometimes you'll consistently see someone showing up in your newsfeed on Facebook and you just think, again, whether it's they're being negative or they're just saying things that you don't agree with. If you're not enjoying someone's updates, disconnect from them. There may be other people that you no longer want contact with. Maybe you had a falling out, or maybe they've disrespected you in some way, or maybe they've just not respected your boundaries, or for whatever reason. If you no longer want to have contact with someone, disconnect. Next, people who aren't supportive of you. Now, I know that a lot of us, when we make big life changes to leave our jobs, start our businesses, or shift what we're doing in our businesses, sometimes people in our networks will just not be supportive of us. And sometimes it's because they're fearful, they're afraid for us. Our changes in life have brought up stuff for them. It could be for any reason, but if for any reason you've got people in your network who aren't supporting you and your business, declutter, detox, disconnect. That's okay. People who criticize you. You'll sometimes find people who are critical of who you are, of how you're doing things, of stuff that you say. Now, one thing is constructive criticism, like feedback, where you can tell that people are really just wanting to help you out and help you be better. That's one thing. But if people are just, negative criticism and just critical, detox, declutter, disconnect. People are offensive in any way, either offensive to you or offending other people, or just saying things that are just not positive and loving and fun to be around. If people are offending you in any way, get rid of them. Get them out of your network. Do you see people who are posting things that are consistently negative and they're just constantly complaining about things, whether it's anything related to you or even unrelated to you? If someone is just dragging you down with their negativity, detox, declutter, disconnect, just get them out of your network. Anyone who doesn't feel right, and I'm sure something's going to pop up into your mind when I say this, sometimes you've just got people in your list who for some reason just don't feel right. You can just disconnect with them. And again, go with your gut feeling on this. Go with your intuition. Go with what feels right to you. Anyone who doesn't feel right just doesn't belong. Declutter. Other people to declutter, complainers, people who are just constantly complaining about whatever, whether it's related to you or not, people who are pessimistic and are just not positive at all, people who disapprove of you and your business, naysayers, people who say you can't do it, you'll never get your business off the ground, you'll never be good at what you do, you'll never do whatever it is that you dream of doing. Get rid of these people. Get them out of your system. Get them out of your network. Disconnect. Next, you want to detox trolls. This is probably obvious, but some people I know when I discuss this online don't know what trolls are. Now, I'm sure if you've spent any amount of time online, you've seen people who, make comments in online forums or communities just to rile up people. They're contrarian, but they go beyond that. They just make comments that are just designed to irritate people and to get people angry and to get people riled up. There's a saying that says, don't feed the trolls, which means don't respond to them. Just ignore them, delete their comments if you can. If it's your blog or your group or some kind of place that you control, just delete them. Block them if needed, but you absolutely need to get these people out of your online life and community and never, ever, ever respond to them. And you know what I mean. These are not people who have legitimate comments and concerns and problems with your products or services. These are people who just are awful online. Don't feed the trolls, and detox and declutter the trolls from your community. So how to detox and declutter people? There are a number of ways you can do this. There are many sites where you can simply hide their updates. So on Facebook, you may not feel comfortable unfriending them, but perhaps you can just hide their updates. And that will not disconnect you from them. They won't know that you've done it, but it will hide them from your newsfeed. And that means that you won't see their stuff anymore. You can also unfollow people, whether it's on Twitter or Pinterest or other sites. You can unfriend them on Facebook, and I've unfriended people a number of times whenever I just feel like someone's not right for my community anymore. And you can also block them. So if someone's just gone to the point where they're really horrific and you're just not feeling safe online or not feeling comfortable online, again, unfriend, unfollow, and block them. Take that extra step to block them so that they can't even see your activity online. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how to stay safe online, because a lot of the concerns that I hear have to do with how to be safe online. So, there's some obvious kind of common sense things like don't share your address, don't share photos of your home, don't share vacation plans, don't share anything that is really specific about where you live. If you have children, make this call on your own about whether or not to share your children's names and photographs online. I was just talking with my husband the other day about this friend of ours who only shares photographs of her child's back, and he sent her a message the other day saying, "Oh, your child has such a lovely, I like the back of his head," and she laughed at it and said, I just don't feel comfortable. And of course, that's your call. You need to go with what's right for you. Always use strong passwords. Don't just use something that's, first of all, something that's too short, something that's too easy for someone to figure out. Obviously, don't use something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't ever use the word password, and you would be surprised how many people do that. Don't use your own name. Use really strong passwords. Use uppercase and lowercase letters. Use numbers, and just make it really strong. Also, as far as being safe online, just be aware of things that don't feel right. And that could be people, it could be any kind of engagement, whatever. When something doesn't feel right, that's a red flag. So pay attention to that and take action, whatever action may be necessary. You want to treat online strangers like offline ones. Just because the person isn't physically next to you doesn't mean that they're safe or doesn't mean that they're not unsafe. So, they're a stranger. Treat them as like one. And connect only with people that you know, like, and trust. And again, you maybe don't have to know them offline, but perhaps you've had some meaningful connections, exchanges, emails, and you know them enough to feel like you like them and trust them enough to connect with them. Think twice before posting anything online. It's very, very public, and once something is up there, it's up there forever. You can delete things, but not always. So assume that you can't delete something. And again, think twice before posting something. And don't share anything that you wouldn't share with a total stranger, even within your private Facebook profile. So this is just some quick tips. Now, I also get a lot of questions from people who consider themselves to be very private people. And they wouldn't even be on social media if it weren't for certain Facebook groups and private groups that they've joined on LinkedIn and online communities. So, they want to know how they can deal with social media when they're, a private person. So first of all, and this kind of goes along with the earlier things about staying safe, be aware of permissions settings, security, privacy settings. Really go into those settings, particularly on Facebook, and make sure that you're happy with who can see your stuff. And there is a way to go on Facebook and see how other people are seeing your Facebook page, including non-friends. Be really, really aware of who you're sharing what with, and also be aware of fake profiles, particularly on Facebook. And this may be something that's not ever going to be an issue for you, but there was a time a couple of years ago within a bunch of people in my spiritual group where there's this group of people who were trying to get access to us to learn more about what we were doing. And rather than just, asking as most people would do, they started creating fake profiles on Facebook with our friends' names so that we would friend them because we would think that they were our friends, and they would get access to our information so that they could see what we were talking about. So this probably won't be an issue for most people, but again, be aware. Be sure that the people that you're connecting with, particularly on Facebook, are actually the people that you want to be connecting with. And you can do this by simply clicking through and going through to their profile and checking them out and seeing if it, really has information that would give you a clear idea of the fact that, yes, it is indeed them. And for example, I have a lot of friends that are on Facebook and they're very private, and so they don't even put their photograph up. And so, I'll either take the time to send them a message or ask them via email or something, but I'll make sure that it is them, because just because it's their name doesn't mean it's actually them. Especially if there's no picture of their face there. And of course, the picture of their face means nothing because people can download that online. But when someone is not using their photograph, I take extra precaution before connecting with them. Another thing you need to be aware of is geolocation. So be sure that this is turned on or off, however it's relevant for tweets, Facebook posts, things like that. Geolocation is when you post something and the social network says where you were physically when you posted it, and they do that using GPS. So you also might, if you're very private, you also might want to stay away from social networks like Foursquare that share where you are physically, and because that's just very, very private. You also want to Google yourself regularly. So Google your name, Google your business name, see what's being said about you online, and clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up. And you might want to use a different browser when you do this, or log out of whatever Gmail or whatever it is that you're using, so that you can really get the results, search results that someone would get if they weren't you, because Google does personalize things for you. You also want to be careful with apps and add-ons to different social sites. There are a lot of things on Twitter that you can sign up for that will ask for access to your Twitter account. And if you're not careful with adding things that are only reputable apps, you might get your account hacked. So that's another thing to just keep in mind and be careful with. I only add apps to my social networks that are or reputable. It's a big name that I know, that I trust. So when you're a private person, and if you're just getting started on social media because you've joined an online private group and it's on Facebook, so you have to be on Facebook to join, start off slowly. Maybe just stick to those private groups at first and don't share anything personal. And expand as you feel comfortable. Maybe once you've started engaging in these private groups, you'll feel like, oh, maybe I want to share a little bit on my personal profile, and just expand as you feel comfortable and do what feels right for you. And this is so very important. You can listen to my guidelines, you can read what, the social media gurus say, but ultimately, you need to do what feels right for you. So if at any time you read someone's advice about what they think you should be doing on social media, but yet it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. Evaluate, maybe it's something that has to do with fear. Perhaps it comes from limiting beliefs. So you need to actually sit back and observe why this doesn't feel right for you and be open-minded. Maybe it does have to do with fears, but if for any reason something doesn't feel right for you, take your time, don't do it, don't implement it right away, and just sit with it. So again, do what feels right for you. And moving on to fears, one of the things that I work with a lot with women in heart-centered businesses, and I've just actually added a new service to my business, which involves using a tool called Psych-K to help people with limiting beliefs and fears. Big fear that comes up is visibility, because social media is very, very visible. You're online in a very big international way. So if you have any kinds of fears around social media, you need to break free from those fears. So you need to get the help that you need. It can be really challenging to do this on your own. So use your preferred tool, whether it's NLP or tapping, EFT, maybe it's hypnotherapy, whatever it is, you need to break free from those fears and just choose what feels right for you and go with that. And know that it may need multiple sessions. You may have a lot of stuff there to clear through. And always go with, again, what feels right for you. You want to be safe online. You always want to be safe online. And you will always have that kind of gut feeling that tells you when something is safe or not. But sometimes we have fears on top of that prevent us from being successful in business because of fears. So again, clear those up so that you can break free from those if needed. I really felt the need to call that out because it's something that comes up so often. So I always like to share 5 top tips for social media. Now, on my social media course, I share loads and loads of top tips every week, but let's just take the time to go through 5 of them now. So one of the first top tips that I would like to share as related to this topic is, again, be selective when connecting with people. From here on out, be selective when you're making connections on social media. Next, create your connection policy. Be really, really clear on who you're going to connect with and who you don't want to connect with. Next, detox your connections or declutter or disconnect, whatever word you prefer, on a regular basis. Go through your connections and just disconnect from whoever doesn't feel right. And again, only connect with the people that feel right for you. You have permission to disconnect from people and declutter your network. And you have permission not from me, but from yourself. Give yourself permission to do this. It's absolutely fine. If someone takes something personally, that's their issue to work with, not yours. You have the right to build your online network in the way that you want to, and you have the right to disconnect and unfriend the people that you want to disconnect with. So, another thing I always like to end with is take action today. So here are 5 things that you can do to take action today. First of all, create your connection policy. Second, detox your connections on all of your social media profiles. Just go through them, each and every one of them, and just clear out the people. Hide them, unfollow, unfriend them, block them if needed. And finally, review your privacy or security settings. Make sure that you're happy with how other people can see your social media interaction, especially on Facebook. So I've mentioned a couple of times during this podcast that I've got an online social media course. So really quickly, I just wanted to mention that to you. It's a home study, 8-module home study social media course, and what you'll learn is how to stand out in the crowd, how to attract the right clients, how to build valuable relationships online, and most importantly, how to stop wasting time online. So you can sign up for this at any time. I would absolutely love to work with you. If you're not sure if this is right for you, I would love to have a chat with you, so just connect with me via my website, which is sociallyholistic.com. And again, I would love to just have a chat with you about whether or not this is right for you. So get in touch. I'm on pretty much every social network of the major ones. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+, Instagram, and I'm now a lot more active on YouTube. So I would love to connect with you on any of those places. And thank you so much for tuning into this. I hope it was useful, and I hope that you found it interesting, and I hope that it's helped you with some of the fears that you might have around using social media. And I hope it inspires you to really go through and declutter and detox your existing social network so that you can go in and connect with the right people for you, people that feel good, and you can build a tribe of people that just feel right for you. So thank you so much for listening, and remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP44 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you so very much for tuning in.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Worton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.